Hello, and welcome to episode 18 of the Luckycast. I'm your host, DeoxysPrime, and joining me on this edition of the anime podcast, we got Funk.
Hello.
We got Kenny.
Yo.
We got Matt.
Hi.
We got Collin.
A year later, and I'm still upset with Steve about Rakugo.
Reed. And we got Frank.
I'm glad to see that I took up Kenny's place of being last. That's nice.
Oh, shut up.
Someone has to be last.
You don't truly take Kenny's place until you're like,
Remember that
always
one time?
last.
Remember that one time when I was introduced first?
Yeah,
That
and you
was
lost your shit.
Yeah, I did lose my shit.
You got to be second this time, so be happy.
I'm not complaining.
Be happy, because everyone should be happy because we're doing our year in review podcast.
Yay.
These are always fun, right? I had fun last year with you guys doing this.
Yeah,
we had a great time.
So fucking glad to be here.
Kenny wasn't aware that we were starting this early. He was a bit cheesed.
Can't tell if you're being ironic or not.
I just want to tell everyone that I compiled my fucking list literally minutes before we started this.
Yeah, I knew you were going to fuck
Could you hear me typing?
Because, like, everything I did to make sure you guys had advance notice was specifically for you, Kenny, because I knew you were going to be the one who put it off to the last minute. So I wanted to make sure you knew, and you still put it off to the last minute.
Plus I'm an hour late.
You're special, Kenny.
Thank you.
We're glad to have you here, Kenny.
We are.
And speaking of people that we're glad to have here, can we have a moment of silence for the fallen?
What, you mean like the Transformers character?
No.
Yeah. Fucking go.
Alright, that's long enough. So this is day one of our anime awards, and we're giving out 4 awards on this part of the podcast. We got most surprising anime of the year, we got most disappointing anime of the year, we have best guilty pleasure of the year, and we have best episode of the year. And to start us off with most surprising anime of the year, let's turn it over to Collin.
Wow. What a shockingly high quality year we've had, kids. We've had plenty of surprises in store. Fuck. So honorable mentions.
Oh boy.
Or honorable mention because I only have one, and that is Flip Flappers. And the reason why it's a great show. You'll be hearing about it quite a bit during the course of this podcast. But it's not on my most surprising because even though it was sort of a show with zero hype around it, it was a show I went in with zero expectations, really. And then it surprised me with how good it was, whereas every other show on my list is something I went in with somewhat negative expectations.
Yeah,
and then it surprised me.
Just to interject, in making the list, it's very easy to think like, oh, I never heard anything about this show, and I watched it and it was really good. It surprised me. I don't know. In my definition of surprising, I wouldn't really include that, and you're not either, by it seems. It's more like when what happened actively flew against what you expected.
Exactly.
In a good way.
Yeah. So, at number 5, begrudgingly, we have the second core of Gate.
Oh no!
Which is it's at the bottom here because it's still not good at all.
But how much does it pain you to have to list it?
It doesn't pain me too much because I still feel vindicated in Gate being bad, but it wasn't horrendously unwatchable like the first half. And it sort of delivered on what I kind of wanted from the first half. Still wasn't good, but it was entirely watchable.
Kenny's smiling,
which was surprising.
Yes, which is a shock to my system, kids.
I'm actually smiling right now that it's actually on your list.
Oh my god!
even though you have shit fucking taste.
We're into it already, folks.
Yeah.
Does Kenny always win in the end?
Literally the first thing listed. All right.
Always fine. Okay.
So number 4, we have Oshiete Galko-chan, which was the best short that aired this year.
Whoa.
Yeah, every episode was very evenly paced, and you get to learn something, and the girls are cute. Uh, so I was not expecting to actually look forward to this every week, expecting to roll my eyes every time, but it was actually enjoyable. At number 3, we have Donkey Kong Country itself, Ajin, which, when you hear entirely CGI anime, your spine tingles. But instead, I got spine-tingling action and a whole lot of fun. So at number 2, we have Konosuba, and number 1 and number 2 kind of go hand in hand here, because they both come from...
Wait, hand in hand, like the Love Life single?
That's right, kids. We're already in the...
Good job, Kenny.
Frank's just legitimately pleased by that.
Good reference. I dig it.
I'm gonna jump.
This is like when somebody gives a shit answer on Family Feud and the rest of their family is like,
good.
There's always like that slight pause before they say it and start clapping.
So, because they're both part of one of the most trite genres in existence, besides maybe just unabashed Fujo shit. But Konosuba and my number 1, ReZero, are both the most surprising anime I watched this year, just because they succeed on just about every level that they set out to do, to succeed at. Like, Konosuba's hilarious, and ReZero is heartfelt and exciting. So, against all odds, both these anime are huge successes. Well, I mean, in terms of quality, not in terms of sales, because they were both bound to be successful in sales. Anyway, that's it. Next important person, Steve.
Oh my god. I was going to steal it from you anyway, so thank you. So, I have 3 honorable mentions and a winner, and the first one is, like Collin, I have Konosuba on this list. Especially for me, because the show was made by Studio Dean, who is far from my favorite studio, and given what the genre was, I was not expecting much, and you look at the art quality of the show, and you would not expect much either, but it is legitimately the most funny anime that aired in 2016. Honorable mention, The Flip Flappers, which started out as a meme based on the title, and blew all other expectations away. And there wasn't a lot for me either, because no one really knew what the show was. But I still think, given that it turned into one of the best anime of the year, I think it deserves mention at least.
Whoa, spoilers.
I didn't say it was the best, I said one of the best.
Oh my god, why isn't it the best?
And
you already know Steve's number 1.
And also, Galko-chan, for being basically what Collin said, it's the best short of the year. And for someone like me who doesn't really like short anime a lot, the fact that I loved this one as much as I did was a huge surprise. But the biggest surprise for me, and there's no way I could not give it to this, was Sailor Moon Crystal Season 3.
Oh my god.
I completely agree with you.
Yeah, because the thing is, if you want to talk a gulf in terms of quality between one season and the next, you don't get much bigger than this.
Absolutely.
The first Sailor Moon Crystal series was a fucking train wreck, and it was a complete disservice to that franchise. But for this third season, they got a actually competent director. They put a budget into it. They ditched the shitty CGI transformation sequences and replaced them with very well animated 2D ones. It made me love Sailor Moon again after the first Sailor Moon Crystal pretty much destroyed any lingering feelings I had for the series.
Dare I say, did it make Sailor Moon great again?
It did. And even more so because it was the original arc that this is based on that was animated was Sailor Moon S, which I'd never watched in full. I'd only seen bits and pieces. And that's also a really good arc of the show. And it cut out, it was more true to the source material, so they didn't have as much filler as the old anime did. So it's just a very tight, compact story It was really well told, really well animated, and yeah, by far was the most surprising thing. Because like I was not expecting to watch this show at all, but then the screen caps of the first episode came out, and they looked good, and I'm like, fuck, am I gonna have to watch this? And I took a chance on it, and it did not disappoint me.
And is this series now over, or are they going to do another season?
They haven't announced the 4th season of it yet, but judging from the fact that it ended on a pretty big cliffhanger, I would be shocked if they didn't continue it into Super S.
Yeah.
So
there is room to continue here. I don't know how successful it was given that the poor reception to the first series, but I would definitely watch more of this if they kept up the quality. So that's it for me.
I'm stealing it.
Oh,
Stolen.
there you go.
Stolen. Stolen. So I have 3 honorable mentions and 1 winner. Okay. As the running theme here, Konosuba and ReZero, for exactly the same reasons Collin listed. Just you see this trapped in a fantasy world shit, and you're like, that's not going to be good. But anyway, third honorable mention was Planetarium, which I didn't like. I heard it was based off, I think, a VN.
Mm-hmm.
It's a key VN, yeah.
Yeah.
And something I haven't had the best track record watching VNs, adaptations rather. So I didn't really expect it to be great, and then it was great. It was legitimately one of my favorite shows that I saw this year. I really, really liked Planetarium. I still don't think Steve watched it or finished it.
I did finish it, yeah.
Oh, you better fucking have.
It's
good.
Spoilers. it's on my top anime list, so
it's phenomenal.
It's really good.
They did a really good job.
And this is when I was taking umbrage with somebody. I think Collin called it Galko the best short of the year. Because, man, I really am in love with Planetarium.
Well, they're short in terms of episode length, and also in terms of like how long each episode is. Yeah. So I think when people say short anime, they mean like 4 to 7 minute or 10 minutes.
And Planetarium was like 13 or 14 minutes.
Well, they range. It's like I think the shortest episode was like 18 minutes or something, and then some of them were like 20 minutes.
That's the longest episode, wasn't it?
No, there were some that were over 20 minutes.
It was like a full length episode.
Yeah.
Huh.
It was like it was a full length show. It was only just 5 episodes long. Yeah, which is all it needed to be, really.
It was pretty it's not really a short. It's hard to really call it a short when
it's more like
from like 10 to 20 minutes.
It's not full length either, though.
No, but it's more like a classic OVA series that they don't really make anymore, where they were only 4 or 5 episodes.
Yeah,
that makes sense.
Only this was an ONA.
Yeah.
Oh my god, an ONA.
An original net animation.
Well, it was also a very pleasant surprise. But it was not the most surprising anime of the year. No, because that, my friends, goes to Shakunetsu no Takyu Musume, the ping pong show. Because when you watch that first episode and you see this shit animation and character design and art, and it looks like garbage, the whole thing, you're like, man, what am I doing? Why am I watching
this? It doesn't look that bad.
It looks really bad. But
it doesn't.
But then you watch it.
And it's so good, though. Like
it is really good. It's the most surprising anime of the year, Kenny. Just the discrepancy, the quality of how it looks, and the quality of the show itself, is a large delta that I was amazed. And I really, really loved this show. I got super into it by the end. I raved about it on the last podcast, but yeah, I'm very happy that it aired and that I watched it. And that, unlike some people, I didn't give up after one bad-looking episode.
I watched 2 episodes. I'll have you know. The thing is, like,
I watched the one. I'll get back to it eventually.
I may have written it off too soon, but like the stuff you say about it, you felt that way in like the first 2 episodes, whereas I just didn't see anything special about either of those 2 episodes.
Well, I mean, yes and no, because my positive feelings for it did grow as the series progressed, but I did start positive on it, unlike you. So,
but did anyone here watch Saki, the Mahjong anime?
I watched 1 episode. I think Matt watched 1 episode and Steve watched 1 episode.
Yeah, on your anime stream, yeah.
Yeah.
I didn't actually watch it.
Because it's kind of like that. It just does those those like really like intense scenes of like where they're like just like slamming down the ping pong ball and like just crazy shit just happens. I don't know. It's kind of like that. but I don't know.
All right. Well, Kenny, if you don't know, then now that I'm done, I'm gonna turn it over to you.
Why? No.
You gotta go sometime, Kenny.
Yeah, I know. Okay, well, pretty much, I only have 3, but I mean, everything's pretty much said that needs to be said. I really can't elaborate anymore. But Flip Flappers, for surprising. Of course,
from the guy who gave it a 6.
Yeah,
I'd like everybody to know.
You hated it.
No, I didn't. I don't know why I gave it a 6. But
Because it's really a 9?
Yeah, you just put the score upside down.
More like an 8. Will you accept that, Funk?
I'll accept that, begrudgingly.
You should give it an 8, so that means Frank's the one who gave it the lowest score, and then he's the problem now.
I'll actually go do that after I'm finished. Ping pong, and then planetarium.
Which one is the most surprising of those?
Planetarium.
Planetarian.
Yeah, that's what I said.
You said planetarium.
It's a planetarium.
You said planetarium.
Here we go again.
Fuck's sake.
Advertisement.
Let me steal this. So I have 2 honorable mentions and a winner. So my obviously Konosuba is on there. I definitely went into this with about as low expectations as you can get. And
why?
Well, because it's a Dean show. It looks like ass, and it's trapped in a fantasy. So I was like, but like you watch the first episode, and it's completely hysterical. The direction is actually really on point. The comedic timing is really good. That whole montage right away, where they're all kind of like getting adjusted to it, and they're doing the errands, and then it cuts to like Aqua out back, and she's puking rainbows, and they're just doing it all over. Like it's stupid.
I think that was like the specific moment that won me over in episode 1.
It's like
Steve loves seeing girls vomit. I don't know why.
Okay, my other honorable mention is Flip Flappers, just because it was a studio that made 2 works prior to this. One of them was Dimension W, which was
bad.
And the other one was Sword Art Method, which I haven't seen, but it's gotten mixed response. So I was like, And then I watched the first 2 episodes of Flip Flappers, and I wasn't entirely sold on it.
You might say you wrote it off.
I did write it off. I completely wrote it off. I was not impressed.
But now Frank knows that it's better than the entire Trigger catalog.
That's not true. That is absolutely not true. But I still enjoyed it regardless. I didn't enjoy it as much as you guys did, and I think part of that was, like I said on the last podcast, I accept that I was, going into it looking for something that wasn't what the show was trying to be. But at the same time, I kind of let that bias lead a little bit too much into my impression of the show. I still really enjoyed it, but I don't know. Something about it, just I wasn't really into it at the beginning. And my most surprising, like Steve said before, it's got to be fucking Sailor Moon Crystal. Like, the discrepancy between the first season and this one
it cannot be understated.
It's actually out of this world. If you look at like footage of like the 3rd season compared to this, like what's going on in the first one, it's absolutely ridiculous. Like with a little bit of love and a touch of budget and a competent director who doesn't want any part of their CGI nonsense, it's amazing how far that goes. And they have a lot of respect for the source material. They really just put a lot of love into it, which was it was so devoid of that when they were doing the first season in R. So I would absolutely say give it a watch. It's kind of tough though, because since it starts off in the 3rd season, it's like, oh man, do I have to watch like the first one and the second one to get to? Well, it's not really the first one and the second one because they combine it in Crystal. So it's like, oh, do I really have to watch the first Crystal before I watch this one? But like, you won't be disappointed if you watch this one if you're a fan.
Yeah, like if you've never watched Sailor Moon before, I would say go back and watch the original.
Yeah. Like watch the. Well, they just came out with remastered versions of like the first couple seasons. Now they're all on Hulu. So you can watch that if you really want to.
Like even with the filler, that show is still worth watching.
Yeah, no, absolutely. It's really fun. They just released a new dub. If you're a dub guy, they just released they have like the OG name, so they don't call her like Serena and Darian and shit.
But
anymore.
that's the thing.
Yeah,
like
I know.
That's the
I
other
know.
thing that surprised me is like a lot of my love for Sailor Moon is rooted in the original dub.
Well, yeah, absolutely. And you can still find that. I'm sure it's just the quality of those videos is probably going to be ass. Like,
yeah,
I mean,
but it's still like even this is the first Sailor Moon show I ever watched like fully in Japanese, and I was still able to enjoy it.
Right. So that's really saying something then if it's able to persist through that after still really sours you on it. But this is definitely worth watching. I really enjoyed it.
Sailor says.
All right, my turn.
Hit us.
That's it.
That's it. So, most surprising, number 3, again, just like Collin said, Ajin, for pretty much the same reasons. It's full 3D did not sound like a great idea, but it actually turned out to be still pretty decent. The animation was actually overall pretty good, considering, especially in comparison to some other full CG shows this year. Frank can attest to that.
Do not get me started on Berserk, please.
Not yet, anyways.
And also, it was just an incredibly fun show that I did not expect to like as much as I did. It's just great. Number 2, again, for all the reasons that everybody else already pretty much said, Konosuba. It looks like a dumb harem show. It's actually a hilarious parody of dumb harem shows, and it's great. It's really good. Now, and yeah, what needs to be said has already been said. Now, number 1 is it's time to piss off Kenny by saying Yuri on Ice, because I was not expecting the show to be as good as it ended up being. I was also not expecting the show to just go full gay, which it definitely did, and boy did it. And it was done actually really well, because let me tell you, I watched some other shows this year, at least the first episode of one show this year that was specifically supposed to be gay, and
was it Super Lovers?
It was Super Lovers.
Nailed it.
It was bad because the first episode is like creepy and weird. I don't know what it is with Japan. Like whenever they try to make these like gay shows, it's always just really creepy and weird because it's almost always like borderline rape and borderline pedophilia. Or it's just shitty and stupid.
It's just their culture, Matt.
Because it's just like, for some reason, like it's always so focused on fetishing and all that. But you would almost say that perhaps homosexuality is degenerate. But
whoa,
the Japanese might
God.
say that.
The Japanese might say
Matt
that.
the electric fence Pence.
But Yuri on Ice actually managed to pull off a seemingly same-sex relationship actually gracefully and not
you could say
really
it's
stupid
stuck
way.
the landing on its
It's stuck. Yeah, there you go.
There we go.
Truly. So yeah, Yuri on Ice, most surprising show of the year, especially considering it was also a sports show, and I was not expecting that. It also, huh?
Delivered on that too. It did the gay shit really well. It did the sports stuff really well.
Yeah, and it also didn't just end up being Fujo shit.
Yeah, it was
like some other sports shows this year.
Hey,
Two Sephiroths.
2 Sephiroths, exactly. One of which has pink hair. But yeah. So yeah, there you go.
Great. I got everyone in this category, right? Didn't miss anyone?
Yep.
Good. Okay. So, Matt, you finished that last category, and you're going to kick off the next one. So,
Yay.
Tell us about the most disappointing anime of 2016.
Oh boy. So I just have a top 3 most disappointing.
lay it on us.
So first off, number 3 is Kuma Miko. So the show actually starts off as a pretty decent slice of life comedy, but then about like halfway through it starts to get really weird with this whole like social anxiety aspect of Machi's character. And it's not really funny as much as it is just pathetic and awkward and cringy. and then it just ends in the worst possible way they could have ended the show, by basically mind breaking her to the point of just digressing to a 5-year-old child. And it's obvious, like, that it was obviously not their intention. It's just, that's definitely the takeaway that you get from it. Yeah. So it just, keep in mind, this was the show that like got such a horrible reception after the last episode aired, that like the original creator of it pretty much disowned the anime adaptation and was like, yeah, I had no idea that they were doing this, and I probably should have read the script, because they never read the script.
What's that in the bear? Is that the script?
But yeah, it was that's something I'm never going to forget, just how horrible that ending was. But like, I guess it's only number 3 because I wasn't really expecting much from the show to begin with. I wasn't expecting that, but I wasn't expecting that much, so it didn't hurt that badly. Number 2 is ReZero.
Oh my god.
Because the first 4 episodes are great. I think it was the first 4 was like the first arc. Maybe it was
because the first episode was also double length, so that covers it.
So, like, and it was real. Like, I actually really enjoyed like the first few episodes of the show. It had good animation. It was great. It was interesting. And then they get to the mansion, and we're just in this mansion for so long with nothing happening except for, he died again, and he's scared again, and then he died again. It's like, okay, and like all the stuff in between is just really boring. And then by the time it's over, I was pretty much already checked out. And then when stuff finally started happening again around like episode 15, I think, was like the one that everybody was like claiming to be like Kino anime episode of the year, with the one where his head rolls off at the end. Spoiler alert.
It was a really good episode,
and that actually kind of started to turn me around a bit on the show, and then it just got boring again. I was like, oh, well, okay. And then of course it ended, and I did obviously spoil myself for how it actually happens in the not visual novel, in the light novel.
Light novel.
Because I think it's a light novel, right?
It's a web novel.
It was a
light novel,
but the anime is based on the light novels.
Yeah, and the show, and I was kind of hoping that the show would do the thing where he mentions Rem, and then she's just like, "Who's Rem?" But they didn't do that. Which actually, I was actually kind of hoping that they would, which they didn't. That would actually probably make me like the show a bit more, but nope, they went the safe route.
It would have been a bad ending. They didn't have a season 2 confirmed.
Yeah, that's if they knew they were doing another season, then of course you throw that in. But if you don't know, or you're not doing one, you can't really just end it on a cliffhanger like that.
That's the one thing I agree with Matt about this show. I think
it
would have been better.
I actually kind of would have liked that, regardless of whether or not it would have had a second season.
Yeah, I think
the biggest kick to the balls, which is the whole point of the show. I thought
it's a great ending for it to have. I just can totally understand why they didn't want to do that.
I mean, I can understand.
For some people, that was all they were going to get at the show. Like, they didn't read the web novel or anything.
Yeah, I understand that, but it just feels if they're being too safe.
And then because after the anime finished, they had like all these billboards put up, and it's like, oh, if you want to find out what happens after the anime, go read the novel. The next one's going to be on sale in a little bit. So it's like, if you were to have that cliffhanger there, it'd be the perfect incentive to like get more novel sales like that. No, like. Am I wrong?
Yeah, I guess so.
Yeah, but they're also relying on like direct anime sales for their money.
Too.
That is true. So I understand why they did what they did. I'm still disappointed by why they did what they did. If you want to see my full thoughts on ReZero, go on the Sonic board, click on Sonic Board 2016 Festivus thread of Let's Rumble, and go to Collin's post about my own grievances. That pretty much sums up my opinion of ReZero. But yeah,
Let's rumble. Huh?
but yeah, that's that. Now the most disappointing anime of the year, though, actually was Keys Niver.
Wow.
Jesus Christ!
Interesting.
Jesus Christ!
Can
no
we
shit show.
get Matt to beatbox this?
I can do it.
Matt's busy laying his hands on Keys Niver.
I am. But yeah, Keys Niver, like it starts off pretty well, and then the whole thing just devolves into fucking shitty love quadranks or whatever you call it. Love
Quadrilaterals.
And it's just really stupid and shitty, and the whole concept of this is ruined by the fact that it's just like all the drama is based entirely on these really poorly developed, poorly thought out, awfully written, cheesy and stupid romances between the characters that never should have happened in the first place.
Maddie, how could you not like anime The Breakfast Club?
What?
How could you not like the anime equivalent of The Breakfast Club?
Stop talking about the Breakfast Club.
No, it's what it is.
Club again. It's not a good show, and the only thing it really had going for it was its animation, and I guess the OP was pretty good. The ED was okay too.
I thought it was okay.
I gave it a 5, and the more I think about it, it's still a 5.
Oh,
Mario
good
Kata is a
5.
hack.
Riri!
Oh my god.
He's
Oh my
so mad. He's so
God.
mad with
Wait till we get to guilty pleasures and Funk talks about fucking Mayoiga.
Yeah,
You know what's funny?
Hey, you don't know what's on my list.
Wait.
Fuck
You know
off.
what's funny? I also watched. You know what's funny? I watched Anohana this year,
Uh-huh.
which I actually
you
liked.
better not shit talk on Ohana.
No, I'm not gonna shit talk Anohana. I'm just gonna say there's a scene in Keys Niver that's pretty much a scene directly taken from Anohana, and I'm just like, wow, this writer really is just a fucking hack, isn't she?
Did she write this? Did she also write Anohana?
Yes, she did. Basically, anything that's original by her is shit, except for Anohana, which was actually pretty good. Although Anohana actually has the same problems of Keys Niver, where all the drama revolves around romances.
That's not intrinsically a problem.
Yeah,
Like, I have
It is
problems
when
with
it
Keys
involves
Niver.
the dead girl.
Oh, God.
spoilers.
Is that a
It's
spoiler?
just
Did you
stupid.
spoil Anohana for me?
No,
Ohana.
it's
No,
literally in the
It's like
first
the first
episode.
It's literally the
Okay.
first episode.
It's the
literally
premise of
whole
the
episode,
show.
like
Oh,
the premise
fuck
of it.
you.
Living dead.
Oh my god.
Let's not argue about shows from like 5 years
Was
ago.
that a Rob Zombie reference
Yes, that was.
in
All right.
my podcast? Jesus.
Okay. I'm up next. I'm doing the next one. Everybody fuck off. All right. So I have 4. And at number 4, I have, and nobody get mad. Keep it in your pants. All right.
Wait, I know what this is gonna be.
Steve,
Yeah,
calm
me
down.
too.
Yeah, take Steve away from the ledge.
But number 4 is Boku Dake ga Inai Machi. And
I mean, I already
it's-
know how you guys feel about it, so I'm not gonna get mad about it.
Yeah. It's not a bad show at all. But when I read the description for this show, I was so hyped, and it could never deliver on that. But I could have delivered a little bit more.
It had an outstanding first episode. Like,
Yes, it did. I could describe this first episode to anyone, and they would want to watch this show.
it's fantastic.
Yeah, it's a very good show, but it was a tad on the disappointing side. What with not really deciding whether or not it either thought its audience was really dumb, or it thought that, oh well, no, you're supposed to know,
Mhm.
which is also dumb. About
What's
regarding
the deal here? Is there
the
anyone
killer's
else-
identity.
Yeah,
That
I know.
is.
Is there anyone else that it could be though?
I mean,
Yes.
it
There's
didn't
no
Yes,
other. like,
yes,
suspect.
there is.
Is there? I mean, the other guy is obviously.
Yeah, no,
set
but
up
that's
as
not the
primary.
point. That's not the point, Frank. The point is that they didn't even try.
No,
And at the same time, they
why.
set it up like it's
Yeah.
supposed to be, like he's supposed to be trying to figure out who it is.
Right.
Palpatine's behind it all.
Yeah, Palpatine was behind it all, kids.
Palpatine was the savior of the galaxy.
Gotta defend against these Force immune invaders. Whatever. It's a real thing. Look it up.
I mean, it was.
Star Wars
So,
is
number
real,
three-
Collin.
Number 3, I have 91 days. Which, as we have described,
Pineapples!
What?
it's like all those
Pineapple.
mob movies that you've watched, except not good. Although the blow is softened somewhat from the very first episode where they focus on the main character's evil grin, and you realize that you might not be in for something that's quite on Kino levels.
Right.
And then we have at number 2 we have Dimension W.
Oh God.
Wow, fancy.
And I had so little to say about this on the podcast. We talked about it. And honestly, I still have very little to say about it because I feel it just leaves me at a loss for words as to what the fuck even happened. And like
Well,
the first
there was a haunted house arc, and
No, the first 4
Uh-huh.
episodes, everything's just hunky-dory, you're on the right track. And then something just happens and you lose it. You just lose everything that your
There's
audience
literally
is
nothing
looking
wrong
for.
with the haunted house episodes.
it was like
Are
8
you sure
episodes.
about that?
Dimension 8, guys, it's Dimension W. I don't have to explain shit. Fuck off.
So here, hold on, Colin. Which show was a more nothing show? Dimension W or Gotcha Man Crowds?
Oh,
Oh, don't do me that like this. You're doing me dirty here. Come on.
I'm not sure I would describe either as nothing.
Well, I mean, like,
think
just
I
like what
probably
even
had
happened
more
in
to
this
say
show?
regarding. I had more to say regarding Gotcha Man Crowds, since that might actually require some kind of analysis. But with with Dimension W, I'm just left with a confusing mess.
Anime girl with what's the word?
Interrogation marks
Interrogation
by her
mark above her head.
head.
What about the chest vagina though?
Oh,
Yeah,
God.
that was a cute chest vagina. Everybody.
She was cute.
Yeah.
What was her name?
Mira?
Mira? Oh.
I'm shocked
Alright.
I remember that.
And
Go
so
me.
and so
Mirror like in fucking
Um,
Zero Time Dilemma?
Shut up, Frank.
number
They're stuck in a
one.
room.
Number 1, and we all know if you know me, you know what it is.
Yeah, I know.
And you fucking know it's Con Revo Part 2.
Yeah.
Oh no.
Uh,
Gotta be.
Especially the worst crime Con Revo Part 2 committed was vindicating Matt, which we all know should never ever be done.
I mean, it did. To be fair, the last 2 episodes I think were good. Of 11 or 12.
They were okay. I really the show had lost me by that point. It really couldn't
Right.
pick it back up.
But
I
they
liked-
were a market improvement above the very.
I liked most everything they did with Iron Detective Raito, but everything else for this second season was just a total slog.
But what about the ski episode, bro?
Yeah, there was a fucking ski episode.
What about the PTSD Rocket
Bucci.
Hands episode?
Yeah, we'll have something more to say about that later. Don't worry, kids.
Colin, I do want to say, in this show's defense, it at least increased my opinion of the first core dramatically.
Yeah. Did you watch all of the second core?
I did, yeah.
Oh.
But I was just mostly on autopilot the whole time because I didn't really
that's
care
still
much
kind of
about.
impressive for someone who was lukewarm on the first core.
Yeah,
Yeah. All right. Next guy.
I almost felt obligated to finish it.
I'll go up.
It's like, oh, Collin said so many good things.
It's a.
I like to think Steve was watching the second season, and like halfway into it, when it's just like really bad, there's that stupid episode with like those space dragons or something. He's just looking at it. He's like, Collin likes this?
I think that was like the best episode for me.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow. I hated that one. Hated it.
The ski one was the best one. And by that I mean the worst one. Anyway, so I'll take it over from here. So I have 5 here. with one. So 4 mentions and 1 winner. On number 5, I have Orange because.
Oh God.
Yeah, Orange. Like you hear so much good things about Orange, like when it was before it was made into an anime adaptation. It's like, oh man, this is a great romance anime. It's got all this good shit going for it, and Orange is a mess, for lack of a better term. No, it really
Wow.
Really...
Let's give a round of applause for that.
Good answer. With convoluted time travel shenanigans and misunderstandings and the whole bit.
Let's just go to the Bermuda Triangle.
Yeah, and an autistic protagonist, and we got it all here in Orange.
Frank, you're forgetting the awful facial expressions.
Oh my God, episode 9 of Orange was the best, right, man?
Naruto, you're looking pretty cool.
Oh my fucking God, that was terrible. Oh God. Speaking of shows that looked really good, though, we got Keys Niver at number 4. Keys Niver was a show that I really, really, really wanted to love.
Frank, you're not beatboxing.
Keys Niver is not that great.
I'm glad we finally got him to say it.
Because look,
I mean, being a trigger show, it's strictly worse than Flip Flappers.
No. It's not bad because it's a trigger show. It's bad because it drops the ball at the end and becomes the fucking Sonozaki show, and she has the personality of a wet dish rag. Like, it's really tough to like a character that literally has no character. Like, I like what they were going for originally. Everything up to episode 9 was really solid for me. It had some really good emotional highs. The Maki arc was really cool, but it dropped the ball. I was really, really disappointed because it's a show that I really wanted to appreciate. But alas, it never quite hit the potential that it clearly could have. And I don't know. It's got some issues. For number 3, I have Conrevo Season 2. I watched after the end of the year podcast last year. Collin really convinced me on Conrevo, and it was something that I was really into. I blitzed through the whole first season. I was so enamored with it, and the second season, I don't know what the fuck they were doing. Like, so much of the same episodic shit over and over again for the first 7 episodes maybe. And then the rest of it is like, oh wait, we have a plot, and then they're trying to cram all this shit in. It's really rough because the first season was very solid overall, despite the non-conventional structure of it, but it really just did not live up to expectations in the slightest. Speaking of shows with non-conventional structures, number 2 I have Danganronpa 3, which is a show that I was really, really looking forward to, because it was meant to be the ending to the visual novel franchise, which I was like really big on. So I was really into it, and it had a bit of a solid start, but at the end it was just a complete and utter clusterfuck. Very incompetent direction, awful pacing, an interesting structure, but
Frank, if I may, which one are you talking about?
Both of them. Like the whole thing.
Oh, both of them. Okay.
Yeah, the whole entire thing. I thought it was clever how they would do it in a structure where plot elements from one would show up in the other one and vice versa. But the way they paced it and the way they did the character development and all, the way they tried to force the new ones on you, and the episodes that just felt really meaningless, the whole entire thing is just a recipe for disaster. And it could have been really, really good. Like, I think worse for me than a show that's outright bad is a show that tricks you into thinking that it's good. And Danganronpa 3 definitely fooled me for a good while. And once it got to around the midway point of Zetsubo, I was like, holy fuck, this is getting like really crazy good. And then it just fell off. It was tough. It was a tough watch. And number 1, the heartbreaker for me is Ace Attorney. Fucking Ace Attorney. Like,
poor Frank. I can imagine that you were just dreaming of this happening for years,
oh
and then you
God,
get this.
You have no idea. You have no idea.
Frank had a hard life.
I was thrilled when I heard that Ace Attorney had an adaptation because they came out with a live action movie of Ace Attorney not too long ago, and it was fucking stunning. Like, one of the only good like video game to movie adaptations I've ever seen, because it's something that would translate really well into like a motion picture or like an anime or something like that. And obviously they would have a lot more to do in an anime format than they would be able to do in a live action format. And even in that regard, they just completely dropped the fucking ball. The animation was fucking awful. The way they framed the cases was shit. Like, the pacing was everywhere, and it was awful. They changed some critical details in a lot of the major cases, and it was not the adaptation that I wanted. It was an abysmal mess.
You might say you object to it.
I objected to it wholeheartedly. It broke my heart. Every week, it just... it was like watching my favorite franchise get put through the ringer. It was really bad. And I really don't have enough negativity to say about this. It was almost as bad as the Human Echo adaptation. Almost. But not quite there. Anyway, someone take it away from me while I ruminate and help add this.
I definitely will. I want to. I want to.
Fine. It's your fucking podcast. Whatever. We're all just living in it.
We are.
I'm gonna go cry.
Let me tell you kids about the most disappointing anime of the year.
No honorables?
No, we'll start off with the honorables, and like they're all like deserving of number one, but honorable mention to Honda-kun.
Oh no!
I was not expecting this show to be Barakamon, but I was expecting it to be funny, and it was not funny in the least. And it just actively does a disservice to that character by existing.
Yeah. By the way, thank you for letting me watch that with you. It was
You're welcome.
Totally enjoyable.
Do you feel that it makes Barakamon any worse by existing?
No, it doesn't. But I still hate the fact that it exists.
Yeah.
Right.
Like, it just ruins that
first
character.
episode was abysmal.
Like, there's no way, like, it doesn't feel at all like it exists in the same universe as that show, even though it's meant to.
It feels completely unrelated.
Well, would you believe me if I told you I watched 4 episodes of it?
I believe you.
I was there when you watched, like, the 4th episode, and I was there when you dropped it. Because you were in the middle of the 4th episode, and you were like, I can't do this anymore. And you skipped right to the ED because it was the best part. And then
that's basically how I felt. Like, I wanted to give the show the benefit of the doubt, but like I just could not stand it. Also, honorable mention to Cabaneri of the Iron Fortress. I know you guys aren't as big on Attack on Titan as I am, but considering this was made by the exact same team, I was expecting something pretty good. Instead, half of it was just like a ripoff of Attack on Titan.
What was that guy's name?
The other half was Biba-sama's Wild Ride, which I could not... I wanted to get off so badly, but he just ruins the last half of that show, which wasn't great to begin with, but... Fuck. Man, that show looks so good, but everything else...
It's gorgeous to look at, but...
Yeah. And also, honorable mention to Orange, which is interesting that it makes it up here, because I'm not a fan of shoujo anime, but I am a fan of time travel, and like the premise... The premise of the show is just so good. It was like, I have to give this a chance. And they fumble it on the first episode.
Yeah.
And like, considering what you guys... Yeah, and considering what you guys explained about how the whole time travel shit works, I am so glad I bailed after 2 episodes.
You were right the whole time.
I am happy when that happens. But let me tell you, the most disappointing anime of the year was Mayuiga.
No!
Absolutely. It's interesting because it's an original anime, so you'd think you'd go in with no expectations. But one, this was directed by the same guy who did Prison School and Shirobako.
God,
really?
Wow,
yeah,
really?
Yeah, but like if you look on his resume, he does have some stinkers on there. So he's not immune from making bad anime.
He did direct Another.
Yeah, but another is like, I don't know. Another is kind of like Mayuiga, but it was better. The better version of this.
It's stupid, but it's
It is, but like Mayuiga had like such a great first episode that was like unlike anything I had ever watched before.
Did it? I mean, the unlucky
Please
hippopotamus.
Please,
Holy shit! Wait a
no.
minute. This guy also
Don't.
This guy also did the series composition and screenplay for Genshiken.
Yes, but he also directed like the shitty like newer show.
Yeah,
of
he
that,
did.
that no one liked.
did.
But see, I
Holy
enjoyed
shit.
the whole like tone and atmosphere of that first episode and the second episode too. When they get to the village and they start introducing all these mysteries, and you're like, okay, what's this show gonna be about? But then like every mystery either goes nowhere or the reveal is super disappointing.
What about
Like,
the keys?
The whole thing with the Nanaki, they dropped the ball so hard with that. Like, lest we forget the fucking boob crab. Like,
I'll talk about this later, but you're wrong.
but the thing is, like, I feel like the show was going for some kind of element of horror, and it just ended up being comedic most of the time. So this show had so much potential to be really good. And like I can give it credit for at least being watchable, but like it's not what I was looking for. I was looking for something great, and I expected something great based on the first few episodes. And in the end, no one dies. Someone should have fucking died.
They all should have died.
Yatsun should have died.
They didn't die.
Not only did nobody die, nobody even came out like harmed in any way, shape, or form. Like
Not
literally,
only
a whole group of people just kind of leave. As if
Not
nothing
only did
mattered.
no one die, but someone died and should not have come back, but he came back.
Wait,
Hey,
what
that
are we
was-
talking about?
Yatsun, like the way
Oh,
they.
Well, hold up, that was the
Hold
best part
up.
of the show.
I know. Okay, I know. But the thing is, the way they set it up is like, there's no way he should have lived through that because he was face down in a fucking river, and he just comes back with no explanation.
It's almost as if they were making.
No,
shit
they
up as
showed him
went
on
along.
his side, Steve.
Yeah,
But that's not what they
when
showed
flash
originally.
Back
It's-
to it because you
so
see
then-
it from the back the first time, and then they flash back to it later on, and you see.
No, that was fucking
his-
bullshit. That was fucking bullshit. The show lied to you.
Did
It's
it?
bad. It's bad.
Uh,
I wanted it to be great, and it was not great. It was disappointing.
Well,
I will stand there on Mayuiga. I know you will stand elsewhere, Funk. And the thing is, I don't even entirely disagree with what you're going to say about it later. But this still should have been great when it wasn't.
All right. Well, that's your number one, right?
That is my number one. Yes.
All right. So I'm gonna take it from you. I'm gonna grab the reins here.
Do it.
My most disappointing had 4 runner-ups with a winner or a loser, depending how you'd like to look at it. Already mentioned, actually all but the winner have already been mentioned. So Conrevo Season 2, Erased, Honda-kun, and Kotetsujo no Kabaneri were all extremely disappointing for the reasons we got into before. I don't really have anything new to add. But you've all failed to capitalize on what was the most disappointing show of the year, and I'm very disappointed in you guys for not realizing it. But I think in a month or two's time, you'll all be able to see why this is the one that takes the cake. Why Terraform Mars Revenge is the anime of the year. You see, Terraform
Why do you do this to yourself?
That's a legitimate question.
was gloriously in the schlock lifestyle. You know, you watch it, it had a degree of seriousness that pervaded all these shenanigans going on. You had these outrageously black-looking cockroaches just stomping niggas, and it was people getting like their heads ripped off and people delivering melodramatic backstories, and it's all super serious, hilarious, and just fun to watch.
Is it like legitimately like a B movie anime? That kind of thing?
Yes.
Yeah, like, there's insects that talk, so it's very much like B movie.
Not B movie, mind you.
Yeah.
So Jerry Seinfeld's in it?
Yeah. But if you look up Terraform Mars Revenge, you're instantly stricken by how different it looks, and you realize it's a different studio. Oh, fuck. Headphones came out. Now, the problem with this is that the visual direction has a lot more cutesy shit going on. Like, characters will shift into chibi forms. They'll have, like, cutaways of their faces in the corner of the screen as they react to things. It's framed much more like a straight comedy, which is not what Terraform Mars ever was. And it just ruins the entire show. I made it 2 episodes into it, and I was like, this is not the Terraform Mars I know and love.
But
Do you love it?
No, you
I-
hate it.
No, Terraformers is not a good show, but it's also really good.
It's not a good show, but it's also good.
You know what I mean? Like, I'll watch Terraform. It's eminently watchable. And Terraform Mars Revenge was just heinous. Heinous. Who hasn't gone yet? Kenny, have you gone?
Yeah, Kenny's last one.
All right, bring it on, Kenny.
Yeah. Okay. I only have one. Taboo Tattoo.
What?
Steve.
Expectations for this?
I did, because, like, you know, I liked the first episode, but then it just fucking just turned into a goddamn train wreck. Steve, were you the only one that watched this?
Collin also watched it.
I watched like 6 or 7 episodes.
I made it 8 episodes.
It like I actually completed it, but I just got so lost and I had no fucking clue what was going on. Like it just seemed like it was there was just like too much going on in it. I mean, the fight scenes were cool and everything. The animation wasn't that bad, but I mean,
that was the only thing it had going for it.
Yeah, I know, and I was just like, yeah, this would be pretty cool, but nope.
The tone of that show is also horribly inconsistent.
Oh yeah, it is. It's terrible.
Floozy, floozy.
The names and like you don't
never
care
forget.
you don't care for the characters at all either. I'm just like, yeah, whatever. I mean,
didn't they also have that character who was like Colonel Sanders?
Yes.
Like literally Colonel Sanders.
Oh my god. Yeah, that was also bad. But yeah, that's mine. I mean, it was a bad show, Steve. Admit it.
Oh, it was. Like, I'm not gonna defend it.
Yeah. Okay.
I didn't even finish it, so. It sounds like that you had a pretty good year if that was the only thing you were disappointed in, Kenny.
Well, I mean...
Or Kenny might have been short on time making his list, but, you know, who knows?
Well, yeah, I did admit that. But, like, other stuff, like, I either watched just, like, the first episode or, like, just, like, just a few minutes of it, and I was just like, nope. So, can't really give that opinion.
You do watch almost everything, so...
Maybe
you just don't form expectations because you know you're going to watch it anyways.
Yeah. Basically it.
Alright, that covers everyone, right?
I think so.
Alright, so we're going to take a quick break, and then we'll be right back with our next 2 awards. Welcome back to the Luckycast. We move on now to our Best Guilty Pleasure Anime of the Year award. And it's always my honor to get to present this one, because... What did you call it, Collin?
I called it the Definitive Steve Award.
Thank you. It kind of is, yeah.
Did you present this one last year, too?
I did.
Wow, hashtag tradition.
Who else would?
I don't know. Yeah.
Maybe Kenny, but...
Take it away.
I gave him better categories. Honorable mention, Drifters, which was a fun, if dumb, violent action show, which I enjoyed more than I thought I would. Also, Occultic 9, which I was the only one who really liked this show, and I certainly can't deny its faults, but I still enjoyed its pseudo-science mumbo-jumbo. And
then watch Steins Gate. It's better.
I've seen Steins Gate.
I know you have, but watch it again.
I will this summer because it's a summer anime. Also, honorable mention to Secret Best Anime of the Year, 2nd year in a row running. My wife is the student council president.
No! This is the worst meme.
There weren't a lot of very good fan service shows this year, and that one was the best of the bunch. So
tell us about the egg again.
What?
The little vibrating egg?
Oh, yeah, the first season where she puts the egg in the panties, and it just like... Well, she puts it down the shirt, and it vibrates and works her way all the way down to the panties.
Yeah, we're going to bring this up every year, until Steve realizes how ridiculous this all is.
Oh, I know it's ridiculous, but it's also, like, entertaining as hell, so... It is what it is, but it's not the winner. The winner for Best Guilty Pleasure this year
I think I know what it is.
What do you think it is, Kenny?
K-Show?
No, because...
Fuck.
The thing about Keijo is a good show, so good shows go on the Anime of the Year list.
Oh no!
But the best guilty pleasure was Twawa on Monday.
Oh yeah.
So you're saying that's not a good show?
It's like it's a nothing show, but the thing is, it's a nothing show that's directed for people with my tastes. Like it's
because every fucking character has big boobs.
Exactly. Like, I mean, I just talked about the show a week ago, so I don't really have much more to add, especially because it's just like a 4-minute long show. But it's about these girls with big boobs and their big boob problems, and it was fun. It was comfy. It was right up my alley.
We've got big boob problems. I just want to note that you feel guilty about enjoying it. That's why it's on this list.
I mean, it's not
that
the kind of
giggle.
It's not the kind of show I would like recommend to people. Although Collin apparently went and watched it for some reason.
That's right, kids.
Have you finished it? Do you like it, Collin?
No, I've watched 7 episodes. And it's I'll talk about it. I hope it's pleasant. I mean, I'll mention something about it later, but just before I mention that thing later, I just want everyone to know that it's pleasant, and I enjoy it for what it is.
So do I. I appreciate anyone who has this much love for large breasts, and it's clear the creator of the show does.
Fuck you,
Steve.
People live in a world where there are only large breasts, though.
When am I going to get my
Perhaps
delicious flat chest anime?
Never.
So perhaps the novelty isn't as strong there.
I don't care. It would still be the best world to live in, and I want to be there, but I'm not. So,
Gonna kill yourself?
this show is the next best thing.
How about those specials, though?
Oh my god, the end of the last one. Like your comment in the CT was on point. There
was a special?
There are 2 specials actually, Kenny. So
what?
You should go watch them. It has a very tongue-in-cheek ending, but it was really good.
I have no.
They came like they didn't air. They came out like on the Blu-ray, but the Blu-ray just came out, so you can go watch them now. They're out there. All right, who wants to steal the ball from me?
Stolen.
Oh my god.
Yeah, taste it. So I don't have that many for this. I only have 3 shows, and the reason for that is most of the time when a show is like would be regarded as a guilty pleasure from the outside, like I legitimately enjoy it and feel no shame. Maybe I'm just too autistic to feel shame as a human emotion, but I just don't really experience things as guilty pleasures, even if they're a little bad. Like I wouldn't call Terraform Mars a guilty pleasure because I just really like it and think it's good. It's good in bad ways, but I don't feel guilty about it. That didn't air this year, but just as an example. So anyway, want to give High School Fleet a shout out here because I know the problems with this show.
Remember that episode where they went to the Ocean Mall to get toilet paper?
I was about to mention.
That's a very human problem. Like, that's part of the human experience, running out of toilet paper. If anything, this is the most grounded show that aired this year.
Except they are all on boats and they have an ocean mall.
Yes, and then they also had hamsters carrying mind control disease.
Oh my god.
There was a lot going on wrong with this show, but the moments where it worked, the high seas kind of battles, I really got into it. I loved the ED. Kept me coming back every time. And I liked the naming convention, where every episode had Pinch in its name for literally no reason.
They just love that word.
They do. I think it's just the Japanese as a whole. But I thought that this show was pretty solid, and I know that a number of other people disliked it, so I thought it would be fine on this list. Second on this list is, once again, the ping pong show, Shakunetsu no Takkyu Musume. Just because, while I adored it in many, many, many ways, everybody kept going on like, oh, if he wears the bone hairpin, that wouldn't happen. And other
doesn't sound like me at all.
tomfoolery. No, it's exactly like you. But yeah, it's just it was legitimately riveting. I can't stress this enough. When you watch that scene of her facing off against her rival in, I think it's episode 10. If you're not like heavily invested in that, if you're your spine doesn't shiver, if your arm hair doesn't stand on edge, if your heart's not beating, I don't even know what to say. It is so good at getting you into that, while also being a pretty objectively bad show in many ways. You know, like, it looks like shit. The writing isn't anything special.
The anime actually got you pumped up.
It did get you pumped up, and that's being able to do that while failing in so many other ways. That's why I'll classify it as guilty pleasure. And it pains me to put the winner on this list. It fucking pains me, because I still maintain that this show is good. That it's just actively good. But because of your guys' reception, I have to put Mayoiga on the list. I feel no guilt about enjoying this. When you were talking about the Nanaki before, I thought that was a very, very realistic and intriguing depiction of psychological hang-ups. Like, you talk about the boob crab. That makes a lot of sense given that guy's characterization. I didn't laugh at it. I didn't find it funny. The only thing that might be suspect about it is the use of CG, but that didn't even rub me the wrong way. I thought the show did a lot of things right. It wasn't exactly what I expected it to be from the outset, but I was enthralled the whole time. It wasn't perfect, but it was good. And fuck you, Steve.
Oh, fuck you, Funk.
Wow.
Fuck you, Collin.
Fuck you,
Fuck
Kenny.
you.
Why? What did I do?
You were late.
He was late. He was very late. Do you have anything to back up that fuck you, Collin, or are you just picking bones?
Oh, I'm just picking. I'm picking bones. Oh, bones to pick. Oh, look at that. Yeah, cute.
Bones like the girl that
there.
fucking Taku Musume girl wears.
Like the Admiral.
Oh my god.
We'll get to that later, I promise you.
Fuck off.
Who's next?
I'm next.
I'll go. Or Collin will go.
Yeah, that's right. That's right, Matt.
Why don't you guys
Get
have a
outta
Hanzo battle to decide who goes next?
Yeah. Just save me for last. That's fine.
All right. So honorable mentions are Drifters and Ajin, but I'm not particularly guilty about those at all. So they are removed from guilty pleasure. So at number 3 we have Cabaneri of the Iron Fortress, which if you recall, I gave a soft recommendation to. I hold that those first 3 episodes are still really great, and I still think that the rest of the show is worth watching from how well executed those first 3 episodes are. Visually, I still think the show is really solid throughout. And despite Biba, the story never lost me. And then number 2 is Magical Girl Raising Project.
Yeah.
Oh no.
Oh, come on, it was fun!
That's mine too.
Too much gore.
I would totally
Hardcore.
watch more of this. It was not good. It was absolutely not
Oh.
good. We talked about how amateur this was, with introducing a character's backstory right before you kill them off, and it doesn't affect how you view them at all. How the Peaky Angels backstory was literally their twins, and they do everything together. But
Well, before we
lots
move
of
on,
people died. There was violence, and Nemurin was comfy. So, 6 out of 10 kids, I'd watch more.
Everything was Nemurin's fault, really, if you think about it.
yeah, I mean, she basically killed Archduke Ferdinand, right?
More or
Oh,
less, yeah, right?
yeah.
Like,
But real quick, I wanna pour one out for Top Speed. Her,
oh yeah,
her
best
and
girl.
her dead child. We
Oh,
did.
6 months.
Wow, he actually poured one out.
Someone's poured a drink.
All right, and the
He's
number
a man of his word.
my number one choice.
Can-
No,
Say-
number one choice for best guilty pleasure of the year is Myriad Colors Phantom World.
Oh my god!
This is a technically really impressive show. It's a beautiful show. Yes. It's just unfortunate that
Yes.
character-wise, it's very underwhelming, and even then, like the action direction of the show is not great. Is not that great either. But it's just watchable enough for me to have like it's like just past the threshold of me having enjoyed it week to week. Even though it was a bit of a nothing show. If you like QTs and if you like great animation, the water in this show, I just want to note, is just gorgeous. There was that sequence where they fight the what's her name? The vampire lady who steals the powers. Whatever.
Enigma.
Wow, he remembered. That's just gorgeous. But yeah, it was fun, and even though it's probably not going to get another season, yes, I also would watch more of this.
Is that like your barometer?
Many of the show's strengths are just KyoAni's strengths.
Pretty much.
Let's brainstorm here. What's like the worst thing that KyoAni could adapt and still really come out ahead just because of their animation? You know.
Attorney?
Oh God.
Oh my God.
He said, "Shut up."
What? Wait, what did you say?
He said Ace Attorney. I'll fucking kill him.
It's okay when KyoAni does it.
If KyoAni did Ace Attorney, then I'm sure I have no
If
doubt.
KyoAni jumped off a bridge, would you do it?
Yes.
Well, they did Horror Chica, right? In 2 different shows.
Wait. Oh my God.
They did Hyoka and they did Euphonium.
Do you think if KyoAni did Haruchika, his fist wouldn't have come through the horn?
If KyoAni, the only thing is if KyoAni did Haruchika, they would have taken out any potential relationship between the boy and the teacher.
It's true. Can't have that.
No gays allowed in KyoAni.
Much to Frank's chagrin. Doing some research on that for the OPs, I noticed that his fist doesn't just appear there beyond the horn. It kind of like slides in as if he's punching through it, and it just increased my enjoyment of that.
One minor animation gaffe, and you can never let it go.
Exactly. Yeah.
How long did we talk about that hand in the bucket?
I was just gonna say the hand.
Wasn't this like? It definitely doesn't help that I think this was like the first major. Wasn't this like the first major release by PA Works after Shirobako? I think it was.
Yeah, it was.
Jesus.
I think so. Yeah.
Oh wait, no. Actually, they did. Apparently, Charlotte was after. Shirobako.
Oh yeah, Charlotte.
Can we argue about Charlotte again? Have our yearly Charlotte argument?
Oh God, we don't have enough time.
Charlotte is super mediocre.
Yeah.
Well, I guess we can all agree with that.
We can at least all remember that I correctly predicted what the name meant.
We can all at least remember that every time she made sauce, she used pizza sauce or something stupid like that. What was it? She made pasta with sugar.
Yeah, it was the pizza sauce. Yeah.
Yeah. Fuck you. I hated that.
What a flawed power.
Oh boy. All right, I guess I'll go. Are we done with Collin? Okay. Okay, so Guilty Pleasure Anime of the Year. Number 3 was Fan and World. Because it was, I mean, I enjoyed it quite a bit, actually. It's fun. It's silly. Stop that. It was enjoyable. I actually kind of enjoyed how, as stupid as it was, how they introduced an episode with Schrodinger. Wait, what? Not Schrodinger.
Schrodinger's cat.
Yeah,
a couple
cat.
of Schrodinger's cats this year.
Yeah, where only for the only reason why they introduced that was so they could have a Catgirl episode.
Don't you see the link, Matt?
I know.
Come on, it's
obvious. And then, it was just a fun, silly, stupid show that was legitimately enjoyable. And it's definitely not KyoAni's worst show, as much as people would like to make you believe.
Of note, Matt is an expert on this.
I am an expert of this. I did watch almost all of their shows so far. I only have the rest of canon and then both seasons of Clannad to go. And I guess technically the free movie, but nobody cares about that.
No one.
Nobody cares about that. Number 2 for Guilty Pleasure was New Game. Because, I mean, I feel like I shouldn't like this show as much as I did.
How the fuck is that a guilty pleasure?
Because it's a cute girls doing cute things show.
But it is legitimately good. Like,
it is legitimately good.
It's not something you like despite its flaws. It's just good.
Well, like, I mean, it's a guilty pleasure because it's
like
I don't
legit. Like, that's how.
But see, like in a year where there are a bunch of other cute girls doing cute things show that was largely nothing, like I can see why Matt would go into this thinking like, I don't know, this would probably be more of the same, and in ways it kind of is, but it also does it just way better. This
was like, I gave this a 7, but it's probably as high of a 7 as I could possibly pick. I could probably give to a show, because this was almost an 8 for me, and I was like I was almost about to give it an 8 when I was like, maybe not, but still, I would say it's a guilty pleasure for me, because like I do feel guilty about the fact that I like this as much as I do, especially when I consider like how like if Dio were to watch this, he would probably shit on it for days. Knowing him, but
he also hates everything.
He does hate everything. That is true.
That is true. Yeah.
I'll make a quote that so DL can read it.
And number 1, I'm gonna have to agree with Steve. It was Chihuahua on Monday.
Yeah, it was.
This is a very dumb show. It's like the most blatant wish fulfillment show you could possibly think of. But it was actually surprisingly entertaining and good, and it didn't feel oh my god, I'm forgetting words.
Like none of the setups.
It didn't overstay
show...
its welcome.
How is it done if it's entertaining?
Well, it's a show about girls with big boobs, and that's pretty much it.
It didn't craft any like offensively stupid scenarios involving that either.
Right.
Which it could have.
It could have very easily just been incredibly dumb and horrendous. It could have easily gone the route of having the male character fall on the girl's chest, when in fact the exact opposite happens. Which is the very first meeting between the two.
Subversion.
And it's not, and they don't dwell on that like all other anime shows do. They just it just kind of happens, and then they just go on.
They act like real people. They
act like actual human beings, a rarity in the realm of anime. But yeah, it's a very like Collin said, it's a very pleasant show.
Boy, is
but it is also like one of those dad walks in shows.
Why isn't that its own category?
You could have made it one if you wanted to.
I wasn't smart enough to think of that.
Oh. Well, I don't want Kenny. I don't want Kenny to go last. So.
Oh.
Well.
So is he not going at all?
Wait, who's next?
I haven't gone yet. So.
Oh, okay.
Okay, Kenny, go.
No, my wife is a student, like high school president.
Can we clear something up here? There's numerous like question marks and exclamation points in the title. You have to say, "My wife is the student council president."
I'm not going to yell it.
There's actually a plus symbol in there too for the second season.
Help!
Oh my god!
It ends. My wife is the student council president! Exclamation mark plus exclamation mark.
It's everything Steve said. Like that's the only one I could come up with. So I mean, I have really nothing else to say. Total
Is that
silence.
a loss for words, folks?
Okay,
that's
Frank.
how good my wife is the student council president is.
Okay. So, as you guys know, I'm a slut for murder game shows.
Oh.
So
we had no idea, Frank.
Frank, please never call yourself a slut ever again.
Oh man, I just when a murder game show rears its ugly head, I'm like, oh baby, let's fucking go. So, regardless of the quality of said murder game shows, I'm usually all fucking for it, which is why my 2 honorable mentions for my guilty pleasure are Magical Girl Raising Project, which, as Collin previously mentioned, it's not a good show in the slightest. But it's got a lot of fun, and I really enjoyed watching it just because it's so silly, and it's really hard to take like a battle royale premise and make it not entertaining. Like I think you have to actively try to make a battle royale premise boring.
This show was trying.
Listen. It did its best, and apparently the second light novel is really good. So but I mean, I guess good is subjective, and I guess there are people who think that this one is really good, but it's a step up in quality, kind of like the difference between fucking like Danganronpa and Danganronpa 2. Like Danganronpa 2 is significantly better than Danganronpa 1, but they're both very good. So
you can't relate things to stuff that no one else understands, Frank.
Kenny understands, kind of.
He didn't play Danganronpa 1 or 2.
Which is why he shouldn't have watched Danganronpa 3, which is my second guilty pleasure. I don't know why.
Hey, at least I watched it.
I'm glad that you did, so we can talk about it week to week, and we can talk about how fucking silly it was. But like, some of those episodes were genuinely really good. Like, Zetsubo started off really weak. I'll be real here, and then it got really fucking crazy when Junko was introduced, because she's kind of this mastermind character, and she's very unpredictable, and she rips people's eyes out of their sockets, and she fucking like makes these crazy murder games and whatnot, and she's fun to watch. But
what about the Hope arc?
In the Hope arc, like they keep doing these things where it's like, oh man, like Kirigiri's gonna die, and then it's like, oh no, she's not gonna die, and then it's like Kirigiri is dead, and then they bring Kirigiri back at the end, like stupid, and like they try to push these new characters on you that you don't really care about, right? Like the fucking like the candy bitch, like my test of characterization usually is if I can remember the name of a character after the series is over, then it means that they left an impression on me. But I can't, for the life of me, name more or less any of the characters that are new in the Hope arc, other than like fucking Munakata, Juzo, who's he's the real MVP, and Shisa, who is wasted potential because it's like she dies first, and then they spend the whole entire Zetsubo arc focusing on Chisa, and it's like, oh man, is Chisa going to be the mastermind? And then Chisa's not the mastermind. She actually, it turns out, did absolutely nothing.
She just worked there.
Yeah, it's like, oh man, they want you to think that she did something, but it's like, oh man, Tengon was behind it all, and he's basically like, he's the headmaster, and he's basically like the old man from not Attack on Titan, from One Punch Man, only not as cool. And it's like, oh man, he was the big bad the whole time, and it's like, no one cares, because we had no time focusing on him, and after his reveal, it's like, oh, he's been dead for the past 8 episodes, so who gives a fuck? It's not good. It's not good writing. It's not good pacing. It's not good directing. And at the very end, there's a massive cop-out, because they bring back all the kids from Danganronpa 2, and, like, episode 1, Monokuma is like, oh man, Naegi, fucking, this is the end of my story and yours. And in the last episode, Naegi does absolutely fucking nothing, because the kids from Danganronpa 2 all come in and save the day, and it's fucking bad. So, but at the same time, watching it week to week was a lot of fun. There's a lot to really like about Danganronpa 3, and like I said before, it was on the pace of being a show that could have been really good with competent writing and directing. But the writer of Danganronpa 1 and 2, the games, was not the writer for Danganronpa 3, and it really shows, because it feels pretty different from the other ones. Some of the changes are good, some of the changes are bad, but at the end, the flaws are really apparent, which is why I only gave it a 7, but it was on track for being an 8. But my biggest guilty pleasure, and this is a movie that got a lot of acclaim. No one else here has seen it, but it's really, really good. And just, it's very solid. The animation is fucking stunning. It's fucking excellent. But at the same time, it's got so much about it that just makes me so like about recommending it that I almost
You
don't
can tell us
want
what
to.
it is?
It's Kizumonogatari.
Thank you.
Sorry, I thought I said the name already.
You did not.
Clearly, I didn't. My apologies, but yeah, it's Kizumonogatari, and it's absolutely great. It's it's pretty much got solid directing, really good pacing, gorgeous. It's not even like CGI in it, but it's Shaft, so they do a really good job. You gotta like Collin was talking about the water in Phantom World, but the stream in fucking Kizumonogatari is shut up, Collin. He just types in the chat that, did you know Frank is autistic? And I'm like, yeah, look, you know what? I'm rambling right now a little bit. But listen, Kizumonogatari, like, there's so much about it that just kind of skews me a little bit that I'm really iffy about recommending it. But it's very solid, and it's got a really high score on Mal right now, if you look.
It gets skied, nerd.
I feel guilty recommending it to people, but at the same time, I really enjoyed it. I'm not huge on the Bakemonogatari franchise, but Kizumonogatari is a bit of a departure from the other ones, and it comes first chronologically, so if you wanted to watch it first, you could conceivably do that, and it's very good, but, I feel kind of guilty about liking it, and it's not something that I would recommend to everybody. So, there it is.
Sounds like it's perfect for this category, then.
It is. It's good, but I feel guilty about liking it.
Well, you should.
Okay, thanks.
I've never seen it. I have no idea what it's about or anything. So.
All you gotta know is that fucking Nisio Isin wrote it, and, like, all of his works are very dialogue heavy, to the point where, like, they're almost pretentious, and it's so fucking, it's it's filled to the brim with dialogue, and, some of it's good, some of it's bad. Characterization is on point, though, and it's absolutely beautiful to look at. It's actually, when I get into most artistic anime, I'll talk a little more about it, but it's fucking great.
Great. Well, that's going to wrap up our Best Guilty Pleasure category. Next up, we're going to move to a brand new category this year, which is Best Episode of the Year. And if you
that's not true. The title of this category was Best Episode of the Year, parentheses, new.
Shut the fuck up. Anyways, if you liked hearing Frank ramble in our last category, he gets to lead off this one too. So
wonderful,
go ahead, Frank.
wonderful. I'm sorry I rambled.
No, it's fine. We're just ribbing you.
Anyway, so I have one winner and 4 runners up. So for my honorable mentions, I have Erased Episode 1, because what a solid fucking start to a series this was. Like, literally everything about this was right. The pacing was great. It teased the premise just enough. It introduced the whole the what do you call it? The rewrite category? No, it's not rewrite. What's his ability? Fucking what you know what I mean? Whatever.
Rewind.
Was it rewind?
Something like that. Anyways, it doesn't matter.
And anyway, it's not important, but it introduces it, and it establishes the character.
Collin.
What?
I just got what he just did there.
Stupid.
Chrono accelerator in the distance.
And it really
Revival, that's what it is.
What is it?
Revival.
There it is. Thank you. I appreciate it. Anyway, so it introduces the characters, introduces the premise, and really, really hooks you by the end of the first episode to the point where it's like, holy shit, I want to know where this is going. And just everything that could be good about a first episode, you find it here. Then I have JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, episode 35. JoJo is something that no one has seen, but it's really good. It's basically the episode where the main villain gets his new ability, and the tension is really high. Directing is great. You get a little bit more of an inside look on Hayato, who turns out to be the real MVP by the end of it, and it really gives you the feeling of like, how the fuck are they gonna get out of this one? you're at the end of your seat the whole entire time watching this. It's fucking great. Then I have He's Neither, episode 9. That's the episode where they're all standing out in the rain, basically, and they all realize more or less that they have the ability to more or less hear each other's thoughts because they're connected by that point. And a lot of really solid scenes in this episode that culminate in that emotional high scene where they're all out in the rain and they all kind of basically reach their breaking point. Very solid dialogue here. The rain looked fucking phenomenal. The whole thing was just really solidly done. And it's such a shame that after this point, the series started to drop off a little bit. But what can you do?
That was actually the point where I thought that it was just turning to shit.
Yeah. But you know what? Look, it's not for everybody. We'll say that. Then I got Flip Flappers, episode 3.
Fuck you.
What do you mean, fuck me?
Fuck you.
Fuck you.
Fuck you.
Wait, which episode was that?
This is a stupid Mad Max episode.
I love that. I fucking love that.
It was a good episode, but fuck you.
Fuck you.
God.
No, I love
Frank.
that. No.
That was the most Yuri filled episode.
Oh, I'm sure it was.
It did have like an actual like evil girl who was like sexifying a bunch of other girls
But like,
in like
everything
extreme
about
bondage.
that was so solid though. Like the choreography of the fighting.
It was a very good. That was a very good episode.
Oh, yeah, it's a really good episode. Yeah.
Yeah,
I think that was the episode that really like made me start to get into the show.
Yeah, it definitely turned me around on it because the first 2 I was very lukewarm on it, and then I watched the third one and I was like, all right, gonna start fresh here, and it blew me away. It was really, really good. And my best episode of the year, I'm gonna say it's Euphonium 2, episode 10. Just generally really fucking solid work all around on this one. Like my love for Euphonium, despite everyone's gonna rag on me because it's like, oh man, how could you like Euphonium when the girls don't get together at the end? You were wrong, Frank. You were fucking wrong. But look,
no one here has made that claim. Nope.
Are you sure?
He was wrong though.
I talked about this. Hey, for anyone who's somehow has not watched the previous installments of this saga, Frank is revising history right now.
Am I? Everyone's like, oh man, look at this.
The only fag in the room right now is Frank.
How am I a fag?
That's not entirely true, but
oh my god.
Sorry, whatever. We got a fag and a half in the room. All right.
Oh my god. No, but this episode
half
was
in the
really...
Oh god. Matt wins the podcast. It's over.
Sorry.
Can I talk about Euphonium 2 already?
Okay, go ahead, Frank. I'm sorry. I just couldn't resist.
No, I understand. Okay. So, very solid conclusion to the drama between Kumiko and Asuka and Kumiko and her sister. Everything just comes to a head at this point, and the overall direction of their interaction is so fucking stunning and just absolutely beautiful from the start to finish. It's really, really worth the watch if you haven't seen it. Fucking.
Well, if you haven't seen it, you should probably watch the whole show. I wouldn't recommend watching it.
Start on episode 10
of season 2.
No, but these are such strengths that Euphonium has as a series on the whole, and this episode, along with episodes 9 and episode 5 of the season, as Collin mentioned on the last podcast, they really embody a lot of the strengths of the show, both in terms of the writing and in terms of the visual aesthetic, and it really just drives it on home just how much of a step above the rest it is compared to a lot of other shows that aired this season and this year overall. It's really good. Don't really have much more to say beyond that, but it's fucking great.
Next. I'm going next.
Okay.
Get cucked. Get fucking cucked, Matt. This is actually going to be quick. I'm not a very episode kind of guy. I had to go back and really think about what I wanted to be on this list. And I only wanted to choose one episode from each series so as to not inundate this list with a great series. So I've actually have a top 6. I have a number 1, a number 2, and 4 runners-up. So going into the runners-up, I have Flip Flappers episode 1, the actual best episode of that series. Flip Flappers episode 1 was just fucking magical. It was wondrous.
Was it?
Was extremely captivating.
Yes, it's pretty great.
It's visually, it's fantastic. Just creatively, it's fantastic. The actual goings on of the episode are just, wonderful. When we did the podcast, and I've said this several times by now, I noted that this episode could have just been a 23-minute short film, and have just done fantastically. It was so self-contained and so concise yet solid that I loved it. It instantly hooked me on the show. It's like, wow, like fucking more of this? Wonderful. Another one runner-up was Osumatsu-san, episode 25, last one.
Good one. Good episode.
Which gets bonus points just for completing the punk out that episode 24 set up. But the whole just outrageous, was it regionals or nationals with the baseball?
They got wasn't it like the
was
playoffs or something, or
it was something
like that. We got invited to we got invited to the big game or something.
That whole setup was just wonderful, and more importantly, it was just perfectly encapsulating the series as a whole. Like that's exactly what Osumatsu-san as a series is. That
is the perfect ending to that show.
Yes, and it was, perfect is the only way to describe it. I loved that episode, and the fact that it just begins with the ultimate joke just pushed it even further over the edge. Next runner-up, episode 9 of Euphonium, where Asuka and Kumiko are kind of hashing it out in Asuka's room, and it ends with that wonderful scene of her playing Hibike Euphonium for Kumiko. And not that that's the name of the piece at the time. But as Frank noted, you could choose a variety of episodes from this series, and they're all basically of the same quality. So splitting hairs and, I chose 5, I chose 9, I chose 10. I don't really think it's worth it that much. Just a great series. Final runner-up before we get to the top 2 is episode 10 of Shakunetsu no Taku Musume, which continues to speckle my lists here and there. This is the finale of their little tournament, or rather match arc with their rival school, where the main protagonist faces off against the main antagonist, her rival, and boy is it intense. So when I first watched it, I was describing the feeling before. My heart was really pumping, it was on the edge of my seat. It was just making me shiver with excitement as it just kept amping up. And I rewatched that scene to confirm my thoughts on it being one of my favorite episodes, and it still just got me that emotionally, despite knowing exactly what was going to happen. And I think that's fantastic. Like, when you take out the novelty of the proceedings and it still just is that effective, that's when you got something great. And man, did that episode make me fucking feel. When the antagonist turns face and starts playing exactly the same way that the protagonist does. Like, she starts to love table tennis. She starts going all out, failing, but getting closer and closer. And then she hits that final one in the sweet spot. And you're like, oh my God, she did it. And then it shifts back to the protagonist. Like, is she going to return it? It's wonderful. It's so... Oh my God. Just in any sports anime, there's like exaggerations and imagery taken to kind of get the feel of the moment. Like, characters will be surrounded by like fire, or there'll be a big tornado coming at them to represent the ball and shit like that. That's very common. But this episode did it so well, and I was just extremely, extremely engaged by it that it just could not make my list. Now, to get to the top 2, the top number 2 is episode 11 of Showa Genroku Rakugo Shinju, which is only on here. Well, it's a fantastic episode in general, but the main reason it's on here is for the scene of Skeroku and Kikusan performing Rakugo together, which is my favorite scene I've seen in a number of years. It is fantastic. It starts with Kiku just performing by himself, and in the middle of the piece, he kind of like forgets how it goes a little bit, and then Skeidoku just jumps in, and they just start doing it back to back, playing off each other. And that's when the music picks up, and they start playing this like upbeat jazz track underneath their Rakugo performance. And it perfectly imparts the notion that you're watching these two masters perform together. And it really seems like you're watching something special. And a lot of this is due to the acting talent of the two voice actors that they hired, but it's framed really well. The piece that they chose to perform, excellent. And again, the music was fucking fantastic. That scene, I loved the show, but that scene pushed it from 9 to 10 for me. I cannot overstate how much I loved it. And because this episode contained it, it is the second best episode of the year. It is fucking phenomenal, and there's really only one thing that could top it. And the best episode of the year, the only thing that could top that artistic achievement of a scene is the We Baked the Giant Pudding episode.
Oh my god!
From Ass Class season 2.
You're full of shit right now. You're full of shit.
Well, let me just say there's an exact reason I got a top 6 with a distinct top 1 and 2. And Aaron didn't make that joke.
Well executed.
Okay, wait. I gotta take it from Funk because we have somewhat similar lists.
Oh boy.
So I don't want to have everyone read theirs and they're like, oh, here's another Funk list. So we gotta tear this Band-Aid off. So I also have a top 6, and one that's not really worthy of being in like an actual top list, but I just got to give special mention to Phantom World episode 8, which is the Steve mentioned this right before the podcast, and I'm so bummed out that he did, because I had this written down as please mention this right here, and I wanted to surprise everyone, but now it's all in everyone's minds before the podcast goes. But I think this was such a great display of every character in the show. You know, I thought it was like in a show with otherwise weak characterization. This episode really showed the characters at their best. Anyway,
which episode was that?
This was the Monkey Hot Spring episode.
Oh, okay. Monkey rape episode.
That ends with like a weird joke where he gets taken away and dressed up as a girl to go get raped by the monkey. Anyway. And
then it just kind of ends, and then next
episode
ends, and everything's back to normal.
Yeah, it's just kind of
almost as if he never got raped.
Yeah. Anyway, number 6, we have Flip Flappers episode 1, which is totally engrossing. It's arresting, really. I was totally convinced of this show's quality within minutes of them arriving in Pure Illusion. It's something really gorgeous, and it's more impressive than anything that Trigger has ever done. Anyway, number 5, we have Osamatsu-san episode 18, which is the Wacky Races episode.
Yeah.
Oh god.
It's a good episode.
This, oh my god, talk about hitting it out of the park. Everything, this episode is firing on all cylinders. It has every single character appear, and every single one of them gets a great, memorable moment. Like, that's, it's like the perfect storm, and it just keeps escalating until you're actually exhausted by the end of the episode from how much you've been laughing.
If you have not watched the Osamatsu horse special yet, it has a good callback to the Wacky Races thing.
Oh my god.
I'll definitely check that out soon. And then at number 4, we have ReZero episode 15.
Yep, that was what I was thinking.
Yes, which is probably it's the darkest moment of the series. It's the peak of despair, and I think it's definitely going to be what people. This is going to be what people remember about this series years down the line. Is that image of his head rolling off, and you're just left in a state of just fuck my shit up for at least another half hour, because it's just a guy getting dragged through the mud to the point where you don't want to see it anymore. You're afraid. Oh man, it's like I posted Cookie Monster every week, right? I definitely posted a Cookie Monster for this one, but if I could put a gun in that picture too, Cookie Monster might not be back next week. It'd be on episode 15, Next we have Hibike Euphonium episode 9, for basically all the same reasons that Funk had, because obviously we get the full resolution in episode 10, but this is really where we get the payoff to Asuka as a character.
Yeah.
That we've kind of been building the tension between her and Kumiko, on whether or not they really like each other at all, or that how Asuka can even get close to anyone. And you sort of start to dislike Asuka throughout. I disliked her at season 1. And I disliked her more in season 2, especially when there's a scene where Kumiko pulls an Arthur and she clenches her fist. It's kind of rude. But this is a really great episode, and the ending's just really sweet. It's really fantastic. And then at number 2, we have Rakugo episode 13. And just like with Funk, there's one scene that just brings it home for me, and that is the scene of Kiku at Tsukeroko's grave. And to have reached that state, that point in your life, and you haven't been close with anyone in like 30 or 40 years, and despite all your success, you feel like a failure, and you're looking for any kind of solace to be given, and he just gets on his knees, and he sees sort of the ghost of Tsukeroko, and he's asking for some kind of validation, some kind of solace, and he just can't give him any because he's not there, because he's just fucking dead. And it's so heartbreaking. And goddamn, hype for season 2. I haven't watched the first episode yet. But yeah, this was a wonderful note to leave the series on. You could have ended the series here, because it does end on a hopeful note. But
no, they're giving us more.
They're giving us a full second season, which is dank, baby.
And let's be fair, these seasons seem to be more, I don't want to say disjointed because that's a negative term, but more separated than most shows that get a second season.
Yes, yeah, they are. It is another story completely.
Yeah.
And then finally, at number 1, kids, buckle up, because it's Mob Psycho episode 5.
Which one was 5?
That was Mob versus Teru.
Okay, yeah.
At the school after the Body Improvement Club gets wrecked.
Oh no!
Oh my gosh, this was the most exciting episode of anime that aired this year. And Mob, I think it was episode 9 is where the Koyama fight is, maybe episode 8. That's fantastic too. But I prefer this one, just because this is really where you first see that Mob Psycho is something so much more than One Punch Man was. There's so much more heart to this show, and it's everything about this is gorgeous. It's like an amazing technical achievement that's like 14 minutes of high quality animation, just going at a blistering pace, and it's just incredible. And I think if you just saw clips of this, you would be sold on this show. It's really just oy vey. It's amazing. And that's me. Anyway, next guy.
All right, my turn. So I just have a top 5, but I will start this by saying, even though I don't actually have any episodes of Rakugo on this list because I don't actually remember what happens in like any of the individual episodes off the top of my head, and also because I made this list like 5 minutes before the podcast started. But Rakugo, I think, is kind of a show that's really a better than the sum of its parts kind of thing. Because I don't think there's really any specific episode that was like better than any other or anything. It was just a great show.
Reasonable. The story
anyways,
just kind of flows into itself.
Yeah. Anyways, so number 5, Yuri on Ice, episode 7. This episode is great for more reasons than other than the fact that the two characters kiss at the end.
Oh my god!
But it was great because this was like the big episode where everybody kind of does their. I'm pretty sure this was the episode where they all do their routines, and you hear it's like the first episode where they really go into their inner thoughts, and it's hilarious with some of them. And it's great. It's super hyped up and everything. And in this episode, Yuri is like really depressed. He's feeling like shit. He hasn't slept well. He has no confidence, but despite everything, like he kind of just balls out to
Victor?
What?
Victor.
Like I think they're in like the garage, like the parking garage, and he just starts crying to Victor, and this leads to him pulling off like this fantastic routine that's amazing. And it surprises Victor so much that the only way that he can express his own utter shock at how well he did, and the only way for him to surprise him back, is just to straight up leap into his fucking face and kiss him on the lips.
It was great.
Like the giant ass fag he is. And it's great.
It was fantastic.
It was absolutely fantastic. And all the Fujos just simultaneously came. But anyways, so that's that. Then number 4 is Ajin episode 11, which I don't know if Collin will remember, but you'll know it's the episode where Sato goes full madman.
Is this? I was considering this, by the way.
This is the episode where Sato.
How is he gonna get out of this one, kids?
Sato not only does he just straight up set up a bomb on a building in such a way that it just collapses onto the very building he was trying to target his next kill with, just demolishing everything. But he also rides down the building at the very top of it, laughing maniacally as he goes down. Since he's an Ajin, he just revives as soon as the building collapses, and he gets up. And he's apparently specifically also just in the chance that he would lose his hat, has a drone set up to bring him a new hat, which comes to him after the building collapses. But that not only that, but in the collapse of the building, he literally just goes on this giant rampage, killing so many of these police officers with a fucking shotgun, and it's crazy. It's like this guy just goes full Doom guy, and it's absolutely fantastic. And this is the moment of the show where you realize this is not about the heroes anymore. This is about this guy, and it's just a joy to watch. Number 3 is Euphonium 9 again, for the same reasons everybody already said. So there's not really any reason to go more into that. Number 2 was while I did like 5 a lot of Mob Psycho, I'm gonna go with episode 11 of Mob Psycho, because this is the episode where Reagan proves to be the best character of the show, and just straight up goes into this evil facility and is like, yo, all you guys are fucking idiots. Why are you doing this? And they all just listen to him and agree with him and just go along with him because they think he's like the leader.
That was great.
And it's hysterical. And then when he actually fights the main bad guys and just kicks their ass because Mob is powering him up.
Oh my
and
god.
it's hilarious. It's absolutely fantastic, and it really solidifies how great his character really is, and how just unlike anything else he really is. It's just a fantastic episode. I don't think I laughed so much at that entire scene. And of course, number one, which technically should also include the previous episode due to the build-up of it. Number one just has to be Osamatsu-san episode 25, because it's just I don't think I've ever seen a show with a more perfect build-up and then bait and switch in any piece of media. It's just absolutely amazing. What makes it also amazing is how the thing is, this show did not turn away from having some actually serious episodes. So this was something that people were kind of expecting and people were kind of wanting to happen. And the creators obviously knew that people wanted this to happen. So we have episode 24 where everybody's like kind of depressed. They're all moving out of the house. It seems like the show's going to turn into this kind of weird, dramatic kind of ending and then you get to that big cliffhanger at the end of 24 where he gets he gets the letter, and it's like, oh shit, what's in the letter? What's going to happen? Oh, how is this going to end up? And then it's just like, we got invited to the big game, and they're like, oh my god, the big game, and then all this shit is just happening. You're so confused. You're just like, wait, what? And then it just rolls with it. It's like, oh my god, this is amazing.
Yeah, no, the best part is that they do more than just like completely shit on the previous episode. They just forget about it. They
completely forget about it. That entire episode 24 does not matter at all anymore. They just it's like that whole buildup is just thrown to the curb, and it's like it's just perfect. It is. What also makes this episode great is that I know it actually pissed people off, because they were expecting it to go more dramatic, and they just say, nope, fuck you. This is what Osamatsu-san is. And I said this in the CT after it aired. I couldn't have asked for a more perfect ending to a show. Just good shit right there. And I'm done.
He's done,
Great.
Ladies and gentlemen.
Good.
All right, I'll take over. So I only have 3 episodes on this list, and I just went with the 3 episodes that like immediately came to mind when I thought about this category. The first one is episode 8 of Flip Flappers, and
is that the robot one?
It is. Yeah, there are any number of episodes you could choose from the show, and I just took the one that kind of resonated with me most. As someone who's kind of recently come to appreciate mecha anime, like this episode being a very heartfelt love letter to that genre, with all the references and homages therein, it was just like fantastically done.
It was a lot of fun.
The thing I really liked about it most is like it takes the elements of those kind of shows that are like, you know, really over the top and out there, but that, you know, maybe in the shows that it's drawing from don't necessarily carry themselves well over the course of an entire show. Gurren Lagann. Sorry.
Whoa. Who said that?
Sounds a little convincing, actually.
But it kind of distills those moments into a single episode where I think they work a lot better. It's very over the top. The like the futuristic city that it's set in is gorgeous and like very indicative of the fantastic art design that show has as a whole. So I had a blast with that episode. It was my favorite of that show, and I thought it's worth noting. But I also agree with you guys who brought up episode 1. Like, that is a fantastic way to hook anyone on that show too.
I remember your post on episode 1 in the community thread. You're like, I don't know what the hell Flip Flappers is, but it's fucking awesome.
Yeah, that pretty much sums it up. I also have on this list as an honorable mention, along with that Flip Flapper episode, I have episode 2 of Erased. Erased is another one of those shows where I could have picked any number of episodes, but I think episode 2 is sort of indicative as a whole of what makes that show great. And it sort of sets up everything that you need to know from that point on. It's the first episode that's set entirely in the past, and I think the scenes in the past are where that show shines the best. I think episode 2 also has the best direction of that show, and it has some really also heartfelt moments. I talked about it on the podcast way back to there. The kind of the dinner scene between Satoru and his mom really resonated with me. So I just love everything about that episode and the tone and the mood it sets up for everything to come. But my best episode of the year, and it probably shouldn't be a surprise, I think this was by far and away the best episode of any show this year, was ReZero episode 15.
Yeah.
It is the Kino episode. And it's in a show where it's like, up until that point was just a series of gut punches one after another. That was the gut punch that completely knocks the wind out of you. I like how much it pushes both what the audience is willing to take and what the main character Subaru can take. Just thinking about it, I think that episode was probably also the one that made me the most emotional this year, which is weird because I wasn't kind of expecting it from that kind of a show. But you know, when you get to the ending, like that is the most iconic scene in that show for a reason. It's just kind of haunting, and it lingers on that for just long enough. Like, it's long, but it's also just long enough to where it's gonna stick with me and probably everyone who watched that show for a long time to come. So, ReZero episode 15, best episode of the year for me. And that's my list, which means we have Kenny is the only one left, I think. Kenny, I know you struggled with this category, so
yeah, I did.
Let's see what you got.
To start off, Brave Witches.
Oh no.
Let him talk.
I didn't. Just saying.
The oh no pretty much says it all.
Oh no.
You have a problem?
Oh no.
Which episode of Brave Witches, Kenny?
Pretty much
say all of them.
There was a lot of references to the or cameos rather, for the 501st from Strike Witches that appeared. Steve, you watched it as well.
Which episode?
Any episode that they appeared.
Oh yeah. Well, you got to pick a specific one, Kenny. You can't just say all episodes.
Well, I can't remember which off the top of my head. But yeah, that was pretty awesome. But one that Frank, I'm disappointed in you.
Why are you disappointed in me?
Episode 12 of Love Live Sunshine.
Yeah, that was a good one. That was a good one.
Yeah, I'll try to keep it together here. Hopefully,
Did they finally become the Love Lives?
That was the one where they basically realized that.
Yeah, no, let me finish.
Sorry.
Yeah, they like the members of Aqua, which is the group in Love Live Sunshine, go to Otonokizaka, which is the school that the original members of Muse attended.
And like the first Love Live?
Mm-hmm.
The first, yeah. Well, to say the least. They go visit there, and they there's I don't know how to convey this, but Frank, I don't know if you know any more than I do, but the mini Honoka.
Yeah. There's basically a little girl that goes sliding down the steps the same way that Honoka did in the very first episode.
Yeah, exactly.
Do any of the original girls show up?
No.
They do not, because they would totally steal the
yeah. I was just curious.
But then they go to the same exact location where they just disband, in that episode, and it was just it was really freaking emotional, following following for so long and everything like that, it was just everything. I really can't say anything more.
It's a really good postscript to Muse. If the movie is basically like your goodbye to Muse, then this episode is more or less. It really drives home how much their legacy affected everyone who lives in this town.
Exactly. Yeah. So, yeah, that's my best episode.
It was a really solid one, and when they go there, that's when they realize that instead of basically being in Muse's shadow, they should try and make a name for themselves so that they can have an influence like Muse, doing their own thing.
But I was fucking bawling.
Yeah, it was that was a good one. Even the one after that, 13, was a solid one as well.
The last episode.
Yeah.
Oh God! Don't get me started.
When the computer switched from the 0 to the 1 during the last song, I was like,
oh God. Yeah.
right.
My
God.
This is too perfect. Too perfect.
Colin.
But yeah.
Colin, as the new arbiter of Love Live School Idol Project Sunshine Generation, do you have any opinions on this episode?
Well, I actually thought it was kind of weak.
No,
Yeah.
because I'm gonna shoot Collin.
No. I recognize shameless pandering when I see it. All right, and the little girl going down the stairs is what we call shameless pandering.
Oh, don't do this, Collin.
Storytelling.
Colin, don't do it.
Are you talking about Chica's
Collin.
mother?
Yeah.
You're a fucking piece of shit. Oh my God. If I was standing next to you, I'd be the ever-loving shit.
But before you guys come to blows, I'd like to remind you we still have 8 categories to get through.
You know who the fuck Chica's mother is?
I am trying my best to not fucking tear up. Stop
Kenny.
You're ruining this moment.
It's okay, Kenny. I'm here for you.
Okay, well, before this escalates further, we're going to bring a close to day 1 of our Anime of the Year awards. We'll be back very soon with part 2 and 4 new awards. So for now, say goodbye, guys.
Goodbye, guys.
Bye.